for the land of the free and the home of the canceled. This past week, right now, a few days ago, Jimmy Kimmel's show got pulled off the air indefinitely. Surprisingly, not because of low ratings. And this intro just shows you I have not been a fan of Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, I don't know him personally. I haven't been a fan of the show. I found it tacky, cheesy, and so on. Last cool thing I saw was his interview with Kobe Bryant back in the day. But now I've been watching Jimmy Kimmel again, and guess why? Yes, because he got taken off the air. And he's been taken off the air not because of a scandal, well, actually kind of, sort of, but mostly because someone got offended. And then pressure turned up, and then broadcasters decided the risk was greater than the punchline, I guess. Again, not a big fan, don't really care, but this just shows to me that this isn't just about comedy, it's about who gets to say what and who gets silenced. And who would have thought that the next big dictatorship is happening across the pond? So, howdy, and welcome to another episode here for the Fun Report, Mindful Media and Communication. And well, mindful, I'm not sure how mindful was this last week, right? So, before I just start ranting and, I don't know, insult people, let's not do that. But let's quickly recap what actually happened. And be assured, not a Jimmy Kimmel fan here, not American, don't live in the US. I mean, if you want to go back into the 1800s, please do that. We are on the outside looking, laughing. It's okay. So really, really don't mind. But censoring because someone gets offended slightly is a bit ridiculous. And so we have to look into it because, I mean, that even comedy gets a dress code in 2025 in the land of the free. Oh God, what's Joe Rogan gonna say about it? He's gonna find a way to defend it. So what happened, right? What happened? I took some notes to make sure that I don't lose myself into the music the moment and never let it go. So Jimmy Kimmel did this monologue, right? We all been there. He said okay, now conservatives are politicizing the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Where's the lie? Everyone's criticizing it, left, right, center. Back home in Germany, where I'm from, there everyone's using to politicize stuff there as well. All around the world, everyone's politicizing it. So what's the problem with that? So now the companies that, and I'm not gonna go into which company owns what, because it's they try to make it really murky, but eventually the companies that run the show, Nexta and Sinclair, they pulled Jimmy Kimmel live. So then ABC Disney, who owns the show, as far as I'm aware, they suspended the show indefinitely. And the FCC chair, and I had to write down the name, Brandon Carr, who has been appointed by Trump, he hinted at a regulatory review. And of course, I mean, Trump, the president, amplified the criticism, said yeah, failing Jimmy Kimmel got taken off the air, it's a great day. Next are Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers. I mean, back when Colbert got his contract not extended, right? Trump said Jimmy Kimmel's next, and hey, he's next. So all works according to agenda. So reaction been outrage on social media. Okay, of course, accusations of censorship. Of course, Stephen Colbert and all the others defended Jimmy Kimmel. Jon Stewart with a brilliant response in the Daily Show. That was great. But overall, it's not just about that one show is being pulled and that another show might get pulled and that they all might lose their jobs. It's about the new rules of the game, apparently. And that's somewhat concerning, I think, because, the late night that made late night become late night, that people across the world were looking towards to in the US, look what they can do, and we can, and we want to do this too. Later, once balanced, satire and pushing boundaries, like Jimmy Carson, David Letterman, Jon Stewart. And we all, like, being from Germany, we all looked over and we're like, this is crazy what they can do. They are allowed to say that. They're allowed to make fun. This is awesome. That's freedom of speech. Apparently no more. After 2016, late night become more openly political with less sarcasm, like way more partisan than before. Before everyone could get it all the time. Then now it seemed like late night even, took more party guidelines or party standards at least. And so now networks are under political and advertiser pressure to either rein back or to, move towards whatever the lobby wants, being that politicians, being that advertisers, right? So you have to move with the wind. Basically what Mark Zuckerberg is doing. And the thing is, late night hasn't been live for a while, right? And it hasn't been alive for a while in like a cultural sense, I think. Like, sure, the clips are on YouTube and on X, but it's only those short clips that try to fuel outrage and outrage cycles beyond the TV audience. And so either the right's using them to fuel, like, oh, look at the woke left, what they're trying to do, or then the left is using it, saying, look what is happening, be a right. So it feels like you're not really a late night host until your monologue gets fact-checked like a campaign ad these days. I mean, maybe you're not really a late night host until you get cancelled. But hey, we're not here to only reminisce about the good old times. We're also here to add some communication theory to why is this all happening, right? Because as you know, here on the pod, I try to educate you also a little bit. So hey, here we go. Theory corner with your favorite German prof. Let's go. So I brought you, oh my God, I was hot when I took notes for this podcast, because I was like, hey, this. So I brought you 4 different theories that I think fit perfectly to what's happening with Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, and probably also soon with all the others. First of all, the classic communication theories, Jürgen Habermas, he talked about the public sphere. That's a classic in communication theories. He talked about it many a times on the pod as well. Late night used to function as some kind of like semi-public sphere. Like a public sphere used to be like a place where you go, you share your opinions, your thoughts, and then you have a discussion with the people. This was the town square back in the day. The internet was amazing in the beginning, like open forums where you can just leave your ideas and discuss and all those things, right? Now, not as much anymore. Late night used to be like semi-public sphere, where at least some sort of discussion could happen. You had satire, you had critique, and it all shaped the democratic discourse to some extent, right? Now, however, it's shrinking more and more under like corporate and political chokeholds, obviously, right? So the public sphere is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Basically like a wall being built around the public sphere. We know that Trump likes walls, so that's just very fitting. Second theory, well, that was the public sphere, semi-public sphere theory. Second theory, and oh my, I have not talked about this in a while because I thought, hey, 2025, we don't need this anymore. But here we go. Noam Chomsky and Herman talked about it a lot before many people talked about it in communications. But Noam Chomsky, quite a famous person in philosophy, communication, media, all those things. Propaganda. Who would have thought in 2025, when talking about the United States of America, we pull out the propaganda model? It's not North Korea, it's not China. We're talking China. It's the US of A, and we're talking about the propaganda model. Isn't it fantastic? So in the propaganda model, we say that the media doesn't just report things, it actually filters what it's showing to the audience. So economic, political, regulatory pressures, they determine what survives. Does this sound familiar? Let me call Stephen Colbert. Hey, Stephen, does this sound familiar? So Kimmel's removal is a classic example of the flag filter, if you will, okay? Shooting it down before it arrives. It's 2025. the land of the free and the brave. And we're canceling people over what they say. It wasn't even funny, and it wasn't even anything terribly bad. But hey, there's only been 2 theories. There are 2 more. And this is like a best of the best today, because like all the famous theories fit into that example, which is cool from a professor's point of view, which also feels a little bit 1984 from a professor's point of view, and hopefully from an audience point of view as well, because we talked many times about Sean Baudrillard here on the pod as well. He talked about hyperreality, postmodernism, all those things. And in hyperreality, we say like that the outraged spectacle, that's the fourth theory in a second, becomes more real than the actual comment. So the actual comment of Jimmy Kimmel, if you just watch the clip, I mean, it wasn't that bad. But then what followed it blew it out of proportion. So then now all of our follow-up of how we react to it, how we understand it, is based on the follow-up, not on the actual sentence that he said. So the follow-up, the blow-up, which is not the real thing, affects reality. So that's why it's a very good example of hyper-reality. Okay, so not that thing that actually happened, it's just a small, those 2 sentences. But everything that happened around it blew it out of proportion, made it so big, and now our reactions are based on the whole big blown-up thing, not about what he actually said. Or like memes and posts about it. That's what people argue about, not about like what he actually said. And well, I just introduced it, so here's the 4th theory. You know it was coming. As I said, it's like a highlight of all the go-to media theories today. Society of the spectacle, right? Cancellation itself becomes the event. Like, oh my God, this happened. Kimmel got canceled. Shoot. Yeah, so the cancellation is more significant than it's not even a joke, than the statement it caused it. Yeah, so similar to the hyperreality, but we like to watch the aftermath. We like to watch like, hey God, what's happening now? Kimmel's gone. What's next? Oh my God, I can't believe it. That's the spectacle that an audience craves, okay? So that's why we're all tuned in. That's why you're listening to this podcast, for example. That's the society of the spectacle. So we had the public sphere, as defined by Jürgen Habermas. Many others talked about it. We had the propaganda model. In this case, I was leaning towards Chomsky, but many others talked about propaganda as well. We talked about hyperreality. That was made famous by Sean Baudrillard, hyperreality, simulation principle, and so on. And then the society of the spectacle that Guy Debord was talking about. Okay, those are your 4 theories for today. I'm going to move on away from the theory part in a second, and just one thought popping in my head, because if you think about all those things, about like all the late night shows or anything we used to consume, right? We used to cancel the shows for being boring. And you could argue that Kimmel was boring for a while, but then you just don't watch it. But we used to cancel shows just because they were boring. Now we cancel them because they remind us that the First Amendment, yeah, I looked into that, America, has a fine print. Land of the free. It's insane. It's insane. It's crazy. It's crazy to me that I'm making this episode about, media being canceled in America. It's crazy. And you see that what's happening right now, this is not going to stop there, right? This is going to ripple through society, through politics, through cultures right away. I mean, you see it in the responses already. There are huge fights between different groups, communities, and so on. And this will have a huge aftermath. And I mean, of course, Stephen Colbert and others calling it censorship, which it really looks like it. Jon Stewart replied, Stephen Colbert replied, they all replied in a similar manner. Jimmy Fallon replied in a similar manner as well, which was just so cringe, but still all in a similar way. Disney stock is trending on boycott hashtags. The public's kind of split, of course, because left, right. Some argue this is accountability. If you say something, then what did he say? Others see it as authoritarian censorship. Again, what did he say that triggers such a response is the question. And if we look at like some history, when have people been pulled? And I noted it down, so excuse me for looking at the notes, but so Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher got pulled after 9/11 remarks. We had like those, and I know this might be better than some of the listeners if you're not from Europe, but in Europe we had like some satire clashes in European media after the Charlie Hebdo incident. What happened there when terrorists stormed the Charlie Hebdo HQ and shot people there with super violent consequences. It was crazy. And even this one I have to read because I wasn't around. Lenny Bruce got arrested in the 1960s for obscenity. Similar, different form of showing it, but similar debate, like who decides what jokes are permissible and which ones are not, right? That's just why I picked this example as well. So all that said, and I'm just looking at my notes here, I think I got all the examples out because, again, it's great content fodder, but if you're watching the clip with the podcast right now, if you're listening, I'm going to tell you, but I'm sitting here like rather puzzled, to be honest, because while it's easy content to talk about, to be like, hey, look, this happened, let's talk about it. If you actually think about like what's behind it, it's kind of crazy because it feels and smells and looks a lot like censorship. And if it feels like it, smells like it, and looks like it, yeah, I think that Jimmy Kimmel's suspension right now signals a new era. Well, it was more blatant than like what happened to Colbert. So late night right now, it's more risk management and not really satire. Political pressure is kind of shaping what is allowed in comedy and what's not. So insulting comedy, saying the R word all the time, that's cool. But trying to show two sides of the coin is not. And the corporations are clearly caving to advertiser or regulatory money heat, clearly, right? And what's the outcome? What's the cost of all of that? It's the question. I think it's a thinner public sphere, as we discussed. It's less space for critique, and it's more self-censorship. And I'm telling you, I've seen it, because this podcast is coming to you from Southeast Asia, where this is happening too, and you've been making fun of it, or you've just been seeing like all those countries over there. Now it's happening to you. What you gonna do? The punchline these days isn't what the host says anymore. The punchline is whether the show survives the morning after. And with this, I'd like to invite you to my mini public sphere, which means leave some comments, let me know what you think. Really curious to hear your thoughts, whether you're American or not. Like I said, like you can hear and see, it's kind of like has shaken me a little as someone working in the media. So let me know your thoughts. Well, until then, stay safe, take care, stay free, don't get canceled, don't cancel anyone. Let's see. I hope we talk soon. Howdy, ciao.